One of the biggest problems when you're working with AI or when you're working with photo editing apps such as Photoshop is making sure that the objects in your scene have the same lighting, have the same colors and the same atmosphere to be persuasive enough for your viewers to understand that this is not a edited image, that this was intended to be like this. So just this realism is what makes photo editing difficult. If you're thinking that you can solve this with AI, up to a degree you can, but it becomes really tricky when you're using brands. So imagine a big brand such as, let's say, Coca-Cola, and then you have a Coca-Cola written here. It's really difficult with today's AI tools for AI to replicate Coca-Cola's logo, for example, and the lighting and the scene and everything that you intended. Photoshop's new Harmonize feature in Photoshop Beta tries to solve that, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can use it to your advantage, especially if you're working with branded material. To get Photoshop data on your machine, you open up your Creative Cloud desktop app, and instead of all apps, where you go is to the beta apps. Here, Adobe team makes sure that it provides beta versions of all of its tools or majority of its tools, including Photoshop. So just click install and then you open it up just like any other tool, because it is Photoshop, but it just has some beta features which they are testing, and hopefully by the end of this year this Harmonize feature will make an appearance inside of a real Photoshop version. So basically how it works is it's using Photoshop's own tools, Photoshop's own knowledge of this industry, which spans over 30 years at this point, but it includes the Adobe's Firefly models and Firefly AI to match and read the scene. So that kind of combines and makes the best out of both worlds, because usually you either have a full control Photoshop but you don't have those advanced AI features, or vice versa. You have an amazing AI feature set, for example, but you cannot fully edit the picture like you can in Photoshop, for example, and you could for generations previously. So what I have here are two images. We have this background, we have this geoplanter. Both of them are from Envato Elements. This planter is just basically a 3D model from Envato Elements, and I just included this scene and used this this angle of this image, and I'm going to provide a link in the description so you can check it out. All you have to do is you have to have a transparent background, because it works best with transparent backgrounds, hence why I used this model. For this particular case, maybe this shadow wouldn't be the best, so perhaps you will have to do some further editing, like you see a reflection here and then bigger shadows here, but for now it can work. Literally all you have to do is select your layer, you have this AI bar at the bottom, and then you click Harmonize. So it merges objects into a scene by matching their color, lighting and shadows. So let's see what it does, and once it does its generation, it's going to give us 3 versions just like any other Photoshop AI feature so far. So when you click generate, what it does is Adobe does not use images or data to train your generative AI models, their AI models, because it uses Adobe stock to train their AI models, in this case Firefly. And there are of course options for you to choose and change which particular model you want to use for this generation, but I would say just keep it standard while it's in beta, and when they move it to the full version of Photoshop, then perhaps play around, because just like, for example, OpenAI's GPT models, Adobe has its own models which are great for certain things but maybe not for other things. So I really encourage you to download the beta and to play around with it, and just to try and test it and understand where it can work with your images. So as I said, when it finishes generation, this is how it looks like. So what you will notice, as I mentioned previously, is now we have this longer shadow. So what it did is it tried to replicate this shadow and perhaps this shadow in the scene, because this element in the scene, this object, is metal, and this is maybe clay or wood or plastic or something like that. So it tries to analyze that, but it's still too bright for my liking. What's important to notice is if I hide these two layers, what it tried to do is, as you can see it isolated here, it tried to not just match the object but create the surrounding area of the table where the object is in, and then of course tried to add shadows and color adjustment on top of it. So if I bring it back, as I said, we have 3 versions here. You can generate more, but for example, this is the first version, this is the second version. You can see in my opinion, it blends much better here. And then this is the third version, which I don't really like. And then in this second version, what we can do is you can enhance the details, so you can further tweak it. You can give feedback on it. And then when you also hover on it, you can see, so the model is Adobe Firefly Image 3, commercially safe, so that means you can use it straight away in your projects, so no limits there. What I would perhaps do is maybe 2 things. Maybe we can lower down the opacity just slightly so it fits the scene just tiny bit better, and of course you still have your traditional Photoshop adjustment layers that you can use. So for example, what we can do is, let's say curves. You can right click and clip the layer to the layer below it by using the clipping mask, or Alt Option Command or Control G, and then it's going to clip it to this particular layer. And then what we can do is just maybe adjust this perhaps slightly to something like this. Maybe it's going to look like this. And of course, if you don't like this green shade, then what you can also do is come right here where it says hue and saturation, or even better, color balance, and then where you have the green, you can adjust, for example, shadows, and maybe adjust the greens to suit something like this. So straight away we can see, if I hide this was the original, so just overblown and not looking really realistic. And then this is our end result. Of course, you can tweak it further, but I think it's going to sell this image quite well. So once again, it's called Harmonize. It's located in Photoshop Beta. To get the Photoshop Beta, again, go to Creative Cloud Desktop, go to Beta Apps, and then download and install it from here. Thank you so much for watching. I really look forward to seeing your results on social media, and take care.